Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3 Hater bringing another movie review, and this time I'm giving you my thoughts on the next edition of apparently this cinematic movie monster universe that they're starting up somehow following Godzilla. And this one is simply titled Kong Skull Island, and this movie was directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, I hope I said that right, and stars Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, Brie Larson, and John Goodman. And the premise for Kong Skull Island is that you have this group of military personnel, explorers, and geologists going to this secret island which apparently has been hidden from the entire world for some time, and immediately after arriving on this island they are attacked by a gigantic gorilla which pretty much destroys all of their helicopters. They all crash land on this island and they somehow have to survive not being killed by King Kong, or technically just Kong in this movie, or any of the dangerous creatures that have infested this island. Now, I'm just gonna say this. I've never actually been much of a Kong fan myself. In fact, I can openly say that this is probably the first Kong movie I have ever seen in theaters. And while I don't think that Kong Skull Island is a bad movie, it kind of sits to that category of I've seen this movie once and I have no desire to see it a second time. Now I'm just going to go over what this movie gets right. By far the best thing about this movie is Kong himself, and even as a character in some sense, because the action scenes involving him are really the reason you have come to see this movie. And I must say, Kong looks incredible. He is vicious. He surprisingly can give a good amount of emotion. He's even funny in one particular scene, and he can pretty much handle himself in most fights. So if you are expecting to see Kong be a total badass in this film, you're going to get it. Now when it comes to the cast members, only two characters in particular really stand out to me and I think have really a lot of character or personality to their presentations in the film. And that is John C. Reilly's character as a World War II fighter pilot who crashed on the island during World War II, and Samuel L. Jackson's character who plays as this army commander in Vietnam who has a personal vendetta against Kong after something happened. But apart from those two elements, I can say that everything else in the movie just doesn't work. One of the biggest problems that I had with this film is that there are just too many characters. This is probably something that most other franchises might not have a problem with, but it did in this film. You have several characters that don't really serve a good purpose. Many of them are just there to be soldiers to be killed off, or some of them are there that have no reason to be there. For example, Tom Hiddleston's character is recruited because he is a tracker, and I'm sitting there thinking, why, if we're going to this island where you know nothing about, why do you need a tracker? What are we tracking? If you're tracking the gigantic gorilla, follow the footprints. So yeah, I don't think we need him. And then you have Brie Larson's character who's a photographer. Okay, why do we need a photographer? Any idiot can hold the camera and take pictures if you want to get proof of Kong, so why is she there? Don't know. And those two characters don't really do anything. And the same can be said with the rest of the cast. They are just there to take up space and spout out exposition. And that's it. I really think that they should have reduced this to a much smaller cast and actually have each character have a personal reason for being there, except we have orders. So even if they are killed off, I somewhat care. Another problem I had with the film is some of the actual look of the film. Some of the editing in this is really, really choppy and bad, and you can tell. And despite the fact that from what I've heard, they actually filmed some of this movie on location, some of it looks really, really cheap, like bad CGI, and that is never a good thing. Another problem that I also had with this film is that it has this tendency to use, put it like this, if there's one word that I could use to describe this movie, it would be convenient. And at some points the movie feels somewhat self-aware of itself, and that's when you know a movie has some really bad directing and some really bad screenwriting, because a movie should never feel self-aware of itself. And what I mean by that is that it's convenient that certain things are happening at certain times. For example, without going into too many spoilers, there was a moment where the party has to get from one place to up in a certain mountain, and they are only going to do this because there's another character they need to get in contact with. And it's convenient that they happen to be at a specific location where something happens which tells them that they no longer need to be there, and it's just it's too convenient. It plays out like in 3X. I understand that it's a movie, but a movie should never openly feel like a movie. It should be a movie to us, but it should never feel like the story is meant to be just for a movie. And the fact that it has these 3 acts and it really doesn't even pick up very well until the last third just feels very, very unbalanced and feels kind of messy and sloppy at times, to the point where I'm wondering, is the director serious about this? Does he know what he's doing? Because what makes it even worse is that apparently this is the guy who's supposedly going to direct the upcoming Metal Gear Solid movie, which I'm shocked that they still want to do this, because I personally don't want them to do a Metal Gear Solid movie ever, and I'll be sure to upload a video talking about that coming up next after this video. But I just don't think that this director can handle a big budget film. I know that apparently he had a much smaller film, and this is kind of a common trend that happens in Hollywood, where you take a small time director and then you give him a bunch of money and think he can handle a big project. And I just don't think that overall Kong was that great of a film. Now granted, it has some good visuals, it has some great action scenes when it is focused on Kong, but when you take Kong out of the equation, the movie just feels kind of boring and pointless. I mean, heck, I wouldn't mind seeing an hour-and-a-half long movie where it just focuses on Kong and his emotions, just going around scratching his butt, beating people up. I think that would be a much more interesting film than what we eventually got here. Now, if I had to give Kong Skull Island a rating, I'm going to give it a C+. I certainly don't recommend that you see this in theaters, but if you do, don't see it in 3D or IMAX. Just see it in 2D, and hopefully you'll get more enjoyment out of it than I did, because I have no intention of watching this movie ever again. If you like this movie review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check me out future movie reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.